This is Efrem Sewell, your accident warrior. Today I'm going to talk to you about insurance coverages. So often I have clients that I speak with and they didn't realize that they didn't have certain coverages that they needed. And they always ask me to explain to them their coverages. Well, in the state of Texas, you have what's called full coverage. Well, full coverage normally means that you have collision, comprehensive, liability, uninsured motorist, PIP, rental insurance, and towing. That's normally what you have when you have full coverage. Now, there are many variations of what full coverage is. And quite often, my clients think that they have full coverage when actually they don't. And they're usually um, surprised to learn that they don't have coverages that they really need. I'm going to give you a few examples. In the state of Texas, you are only required to have liability insurance. Now, liability insurance covers the person or persons that uh, that are either hurt or there's property damage to their vehicle if it's your fault. Now, in the state of Texas, you have people that are at fault and they don't have any insurance. Well, if they don't have insurance and all you have is liability, then your car is not going to be repaired. And if you have any injuries, those are not going to be addressed. So, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have uninsured motorists. Now, uninsured motorist is the coverage that covers you if somebody hits you, does property damage to your vehicle, or causes injuries to you, and they're not insured. Or on the other hand, they have insurance, but it caused such significant damages to you that they don't have enough insurance. So then you would access the same part of it, but it's called uninsured motorist insurance. Now, quite often when I'm talking to my clients, they'll tell me that they didn't realize that they didn't have that insurance. I say, well, in the state of Texas, they're required, every insurance agent is required to offer you both uninsured motorists that protects you against uninsured drivers and PIP. And the state of Texas is so serious about that that the insurers can't just take your word for it. They have to have written rejections from you for it not to be on the policy. Now, when it comes down to people actually having it on their policy, insurance agents use certain tricks to trick you into taking the coverages that they want you to have and rejecting the coverages that they don't want you to have. I'll explain. Insurance agents, they want to sell insurance to you that gives them the highest premium and the lowest amount of risk. So, with liability insurance in the state of Texas, its minimum is $30,000, $60,000. Normally, in a 6-month policy, on the normal circumstances, a person with normal driving record, your liability insurance coverage should be no more than about $300 every 6 months. Now, the way the agents look at it is their maximum exposure in that situation is $60,000 total, $30,000 per person. Well, the next coverage that they're always going to want to sell you is going to be collision coverage. Well, why do they want to sell you collision coverage? Well, in that same policy, it would probably cost you about $250 for collision coverage. Well, why would they want it on your policy? Why do they work so hard to get that on your policy? Well, it's because depending upon your car, if you have collision coverage, the worst thing that can happen is you hit a wall and you tear up the vehicle. Now, if it's a $10,000 vehicle, it doesn't matter whether you tear it up or whether you just damage it really bad. is still, the cost to them is never going to exceed $10,000. So if they can get $250 and have exposure of $10,000 in the example that I've given you, well, they definitely want to sell you that. Just like comprehensive. Comprehensive is probably going to cost you, in my example, probably close to $200. So you've got $300 for your liability, you got $250 for collision, and now you got another $190 or $200 for comprehensive. Well, the agent is going to want to sell you comprehensive. Why is that? Because again, he's just looking at his risk. What's the worst thing that can happen on the comprehensive? Somebody come and scratch up your car? Well, it's just a repair. Maybe your car gets stolen. Well, we're back to that same $10,000. That's all they have to pay. But they're still getting $200 in coverage. Now, I always have clients that say they had a conversation with their agent when they were there. I say, well, how did that, just tell me a little bit about how that conversation went. Well, when I saw my bill, I asked them, was there any of these things that I could avoid having that could save me some money? And the agent told me that, well, you don't need uninsured motorists because the other people are going to have insurance. Well, let me explain to you why he says that. Because I've given you the examples of how much risk that they have with liability and they get $300, how much risk they have with collision and they get $250, how much risk they have with comprehensive when they have getting $200. Now, under the state of Texas have statutes that limit the amount that they can charge you for uninsured motorists. Well, normally uninsured motorists is only going to cost you about $50 for 6 months. But it's $60,000 in coverage. That's for you, for everybody in your vehicle, and $30,000 per individual. So you say, well, why did they want to sell me that? Because they're only getting $50 for $60,000 in exposure. That's why. And that's why the state of Texas requires you to sign that rejection form. It's the same thing for personal injury protection. It's usually not that large. It's only about $2,500. But the amount that you pay for that is nominal. But again, their exposure is $2,500, and the state of Texas limits the amount that they can charge you. So they don't want you to have that coverage. And so they'll tell you, well, this is something you don't need, and take it off. Let's just say it's not the whole truth. Because the whole truth is that in Texas, 25% of the drivers out there are uninsured. For example, if you pull up to a red light, you see the car over next to you or the one behind you, and maybe the one over your right shoulder. Well, one of those cars is not going to have insurance on it. So you're really playing Russian roulette if you're driving around. And the other way you need to look at it is, if you're going to have liability insurance to cover somebody that you may injure or hurt or cause damage to, why wouldn't you protect yourself? So I suggest you call your agent, ask them about those coverages, ask them how much those coverages cost, and go out and get your uninsured motorists and PIP right away. This is from Efrem Sewell at the Sewell Law Firm.